All right, so we are going to be going over the scanning functions. So for the most part, it's the same options as your copy settings, very close to it. The most that you're going to need to do on a day-to-day basis is probably just select the destination, whether it be an email or a folder, and then press start. For emails, you can also, if you click on this specify here, you can say enter using keyboard. If you are using an LDAP or if you just want to search your address book, you can, like if you have a ton of emails in there. Yeah. And then you can manually type in that email. Your send settings over here, you have your resolution. For the most part, 200 dpi is pretty good. If you have like a really large document that you're trying to send, you could lower it to 100 dpi if you go into this others tab. And that'll let you send a bit more pages through in a single email. Of course, you can always just split them up into multiple emails. And then for the most part, you don't really need to go in higher quality unless you have like a map that you're trying to scan. I think is the only time that I've ever actually seen someone use that. We recommend that you leave the file type on PDF just because it seems to have a bit more luck sending through that way. If there is something really specific that you need to change it to, like TIFF or .jpeg, you can. It just it doesn't seem to work as well all the time. You can leave it on auto color select. You can also just set it to full color or grayscale if you need. I normally don't worry about this just because it's a scan, so it doesn't matter too much. The only thing that is kind of useful is you have that glossy photo option again, which is nice because it can kind of help cut down on the gloss. You can set it to a two-sided original, so that'll scan the front and back. If I do that, what I like to do is I'll scroll down here and I'll enable this delete blank page option. So that way, if you have any documents that are single-sided, it's not showing up as just a blank white page in your email. It just gets rid of that. You have the same erase center / border option as you do with copies. I'll go through that again real quick. So you select what you want to get rid of. This is really mostly used for like books and that kind of thing. And then you just, set how big you want it to, how much of that center you want to erase, or how much of the border on the outside you want to get rid of. The only issue with this is that it's really dependent on you putting the booklet on the scanning bed the exact same way every single time. So it's a little iffy, but it's nice if you really need it. Should auto detect the size of the paper that you're scanning for the most part. If it doesn't, just click on this scan size option and then you can put on a custom size or have a couple different sizes here too. You can name the file, otherwise it's just going to show up as a long string of numbers. You have the same density slider, which again is just kind of like a contrast slider. For the most part, you don't really need to use this unless, if whatever you're trying to copy is super, super light. Sometimes this can be helpful. Or if maybe there's something wrong with the scanner, but that's usually going to require us to come out and clean the mirrors. So for the most part, you probably shouldn't need to touch this, but it's there if you want. You can change which way you have the original put in there. This really doesn't matter all that much because you can flip it after the fact. If it is an email, you can select a sender. So you can either, I think you can just take this from the address book. It would have to be put in the address book first. For emails, you have a subject and text that you can put in. The scan ratio is just an enlarge and shrink button, pretty much. You do have options for the original thickness. For the most part, it should be left on standard. You know, if you're doing really thin pages, you can set it to thin. And if you do cardstock, technically you're able to, but it does put a lot of wear and tear on the scanner, so we kind of recommend against it. The new machines with like the overhead scanners installed are a little bit better about working with cardstock. So those, you can put cardstock through them a little bit safer, but like standard machines, it's a little bit iffy. So I tell people that they can, but I'm not personally a fan. If you're doing a bunch of different settings all at once, like between pages, like if you're switching settings a lot, you can turn on this batch option. And then what that'll allow you to do is you'll scan some in. It'll keep them there, but it won't send the email yet, or won't send the file yet. And then you can change your settings, scan some more, and then whenever you're finished, I think there's a little button up at the top that says like, press this when you're finished scanning, and you can click that and it'll send them all off at once. You can encrypt the files and set a password on them, which is nice if it's something really secure. Personally, I wouldn't recommend sending anything that needs to be secure over email anyways, but you can. You can also divide them up into, multiple sections. That way they send us different files instead of one giant PDF. So again, if you have like a ton of pages that you're trying to scan to email at once, this can kind of be nice to help split them up and make sure that you don't exceed your how big an email can be. And then I think this just allows you to save it to the document server as well if you want, which we'll go through that in a different video. And then again, same thing with the copy screen. I have all those settings in there that are a little bit funky. Just click on the reset button and it takes everything back to the default. If you like your settings and you want to set them as the default, like if you know that all of your scans are going to be double-sided instead of single-sided, you can just click on this gear icon, set current settings to default. If you want to save it as a preset, like you are doing a bunch of booklets that are all the same size, and you're going to be doing it for a while, you can say set current settings to program. Click on one of these numbers, give it a name, and press OK. And then that program is going to show up on your home screen. So you just click on that, and then it'll open up the scan screen with all the settings that you were using last already up there. Since it's so closely related, I'm also going to go through the address book settings too. So I'm going to have a whole different video about scan to folder just because it is pretty complex, but so we're just going to go over scan to email and like editing stuff and getting people taken out of here, user codes, that kind of thing. So like here, if you want to edit it, you just click on the name, click on edit, and then all of your options pop up. So, and if you like needed to change the email, just go in here, click on that, change the email address. Depending on how your email server is set up, you might want to select this for the most part, you do not want to select use as sender, just because it kind of makes it a pain whenever you try to scan. And then if you were like using a user code or something like that, click on user management, and then here you can put in that user code, and you'll have your functions and all that they can access. If you wanted to delete someone, like if someone's email is in there that doesn't work there anymore, just click on it, click on delete, and you're good to go. You can also delete multiples at a time, so you can click like 1, 2, 3, as many as you want, delete them all at once. If you want to add an email, you can click on register, type in the name, should automatically populate down here. So this is what actually shows up on the scan screen. So I think you can make these two different things, but you just want to make sure that what you want to show up on the scan screen is under this display name here. And click on that destinations tab, email address, type in your email, if you did want to add a user code, again, user management, same as we did before, and click on OK. You should be good to go. Now, of course, this is all dependent on you having some sort of email server set up for this to be able to send from. But if you have that, or if your IT set that up, or if we set that up for you, then you can just add in the emails and it'll show up in your scanner.